Did you know Denver was almost not the capital of Colorado? Or that it started as a lawless gold rush town full of gamblers and outlaws? In this video, we'll explore the true history of Denver, from its Native American roots to the skyscrapers of today. Stick around, because some of these stories are wilder than a Rocky Mountain blizzard. Title: Gold and Strife, The Birth of Denver. In the summer of 1858, the rugged Rocky Mountains hid a treasure that would forever alter the course of history: the discovery of gold. The harsh land, once home to the peaceful Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes, would soon be swept into a frenzy of greed and expansion. As prospectors from Lawrence, Kansas, staked their claim along the South Platte River, the fragile peace held by native nations was shattered. The first settlement, Montana City, flickered and faded into oblivion, abandoned by the rush of newcomers seeking fortune. But the heart of the gold fever beat on, shifting toward the growing towns of Auraria and St. Charles City. These settlements, built on stolen land, would eventually forge the foundation of what we now know as Denver, an empire born from the clash of cultures, dreams, and untold strife. Title: The Birth of Denver, A Clash of Ambitions and Betrayals. In the fall of 1858, the clash between dreams and betrayal took root along the South Platte River, where General William Larimer and Captain Jonathan Cox, two land speculators from eastern Kansas, staked a claim for a new town. They called it Denver City, hoping to honor the name of a governor who had already resigned, their hopes dashed before they even began. As they laid cottonwood logs to mark the town's boundaries, they unknowingly built it on land once home to the Cheyenne and Arapaho, whose seasonal encampments lay just across the creek. The promise of fortune drew miners, gamblers, and traders, and Denver City became a chaotic frontier town, fueled by speculation, saloons, and desperate men. But beneath the hustle of this new world, betrayal simmered. In 1861, after signing the Treaty of Fort Wise under dubious circumstances, the Cheyenne and Arapaho were forced to cede nearly all of their ancestral lands, including the very land that Denver was built upon. As the city grew, so did the tensions, as the indigenous people's resistance was dismissed by the government, and a new empire took root amid a web of lies, broken promises, and bloody history. Title: Denver's Rise, Blood on the Land. In the winter of 1861, as Denver City was born out of ambition and controversy, the Colorado Territory was officially carved from the wilderness. With Arapaho County's formation and Denver's rise to prominence, the town quickly became a symbol of progress and power. Yet, beneath its bustling streets and promises of a bright future, the land was soaked in the blood of betrayal. The Cheyenne and Arapaho, whose very souls had once anchored the land, found themselves betrayed by the Treaty of Fort Wise and the ruthless encroachment of settlers. The harsh Colorado War of 1864 and 1865, crowned by the infamous Sand Creek Massacre, ignited a brutal struggle that saw innocent lives lost and the indigenous peoples crushed. By the end of the 1860s, the Cheyenne and Arapaho were displaced, their voices silenced, and the land was stripped from them. As Denver solidified its place in history, a darker story remained hidden, one of genocide, broken treaties, and a city built atop a foundation of tragedy. Title: Denver's Struggle, Rails, Riches, and Rebellion. In the 1870s, Denver's future hung in the balance. The promise of prosperity was threatened when the Transcontinental Railroad bypassed the city, instead choosing to link with Cheyenne City. But the resilient citizens of Denver, led by ambitious visionaries like Governor John Evans and entrepreneurs David Moffett and Walter Cheesman, refused to be defeated. In a remarkable feat, they raised $300,000 in just 3 days, rallying behind the vision of a railroad that would forever connect the young city to the rest of the nation. By June 24, 1870, the Denver Pacific completed its link to the Transcontinental Railroad, ushering in a new age of economic prosperity and growth. But as the city flourished, the rapid expansion sowed its own seeds of discord. The elite built mansions and theaters, while crime, poverty, and bigotry festered in the shadows. A growing immigrant population clashed with entrenched social structures, fueling racial tensions and political unrest. The silver crash of 1893 rocked Denver's economic foundations, and the subsequent rise of the Ku Klux Klan in the city's urban streets echoed the unease of a nation struggling with change. Amidst the gleaming mansions and elegant hotels, Denver's dark undercurrents of corruption, crime, and societal conflict simmered, threatening to undo all the city had fought for. Title: The Tumultuous Rise of Denver, Corruption, Growth, and a Radioactive Legacy. Between 1880 and 1895, Denver became a city torn between ambition and corruption. Crime bosses like Soapy Smith thrived, their alliances with elected officials and the police securing control over elections, gambling, and illicit activities. The city, deeply affected by the 1893 silver crash, also saw the rise of charitable efforts, with local religious leaders forming a precursor to the United Way to aid the impoverished. Denver's growth was undeniable, becoming the second-largest city west of Omaha by 1890. However, its prosperity masked a darker side: racial tensions with a predominantly white population, but a growing African-American and Hispanic community set the stage for future struggles. As Denver experienced the Carnation Gold Rush of floriculture in the early 20th century, the city underwent significant political reform with the establishment of the City and County of Denver in 1902. Yet, a new threat loomed in the form of the Rocky Flats nuclear facility. From 1953 to 1989, it contaminated parts of Denver with plutonium-239, leaving behind a legacy of health risks, birth defects, and cancer. Despite the shining promise of growth, Denver's rise was marked by social and environmental challenges that would haunt its future for decades to come. Title: Denver's Bold Choices: The Olympic Snub, Political Ascension, and Urban Transformation. In 1970, Denver's selection to host the 1976 Winter Olympics seemed a perfect match for Colorado's centennial celebration. But by 1972, a surge of environmental concerns led Colorado voters to reject public funding for the Games. The event was moved to Innsbruck, Austria, and Denver became the only city to ever decline hosting an Olympic Games after being selected. This landmark decision, driven by State Representative Richard Lamb, helped propel him to the governorship. Over the following decades, Denver's political significance grew, hosting the Democratic National Convention twice and welcoming the Catholic Church's 6th World Youth Day, which drew a record-breaking crowd of 500,000. As the city evolved, it embraced modern infrastructure, launching a new commuter railway in 2015 and updating its zoning code to guide future development. Known as the Queen City of the Plains for its agricultural importance, Denver continued to reinvent itself, balancing a rich history with bold visions for the future. And that's the epic story of Denver. What surprised you the most? The gold rush chaos, the railroad wars, or Denver's modern tech boom?